Hello and welcome back. Damian Gerard, your host of the Gerard Realty Show. I am back here. Well, I've been here the whole time, and so is Ryan. Ryan Zimmer, asset advisor for the Gerard Realty Group. You have been involved in a number of transactions lately where you're representing a buyer. Mm-hmm. They want to buy a house. They know what they want, and the house comes up on the market, and you call and say, we have to go see this house today. And they say, well, we can't today because we got this and we have that. We have things we have to do.
Right.
They don't go. And then the next day they call you and they say, okay, let's go see it.
It's under contract.
It's under contract. So it's a crazy market. I mean, parts of the Central Corridor especially are just on fire. So I thought it would be a good idea for our listeners who are thinking about making a purchase and for our listeners who are trying to sell a house to understand what's going on in the marketplace today. And I want to talk for a minute about how to win the house that you actually want to buy. So we came up with a few pointers or a few topics that we want to discuss. And what did we come up with?
Yeah, so the first point, you definitely have to have your home listed if you need to sell that in order to buy.
Yeah, because if you're not ready,
there's no point in even looking.
Is a contingent contract going to be?
You're going to get blown out because every house that I've seen, in the Central Corridor, West County, between 200 and 400, there's multiple offers.
Right, and
every house.
And so if you come in and say, "Well, I want to buy your house, and I'm going to put mine on real quick. It's almost ready."
Mm-hmm.
It's just not going to work.
Yeah,
in this environment.
There's just no point.
Okay, so next topic.
You have to be ready to jump. When a good listing hits, you have to be ready to go look at it. Whether, it hits on a Sunday or on a Tuesday, you have to be ready.
Right. We actually, I think you had a transaction a couple of weeks ago where they did make an offer and it didn't go through. A house very similar to the one that they had offered on, which they lost, but they were out of town.
Right, exactly.
And, of course, their thought was, well, we'll be back in a couple of days or whatever. So I guess when they got back, it was sold. It was sold the day after it came out.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. There was a 4-hour time difference. We were 30 minutes late because someone came in and countered.
So it's not just theory. I mean, this is real world stuff that's happening right now today. If you're thinking about buying a house, you got to be ready. You got to be ready to jump, like Ryan said. If it's out there, you need to know what you're looking for. You need to know where it is. And you got to go see it. You got to call Ryan. And so what's the next item that we should be concerned about?
I think you need to be flexible. If you have this set price in your head that you don't want to pay over $320 and a house is going for $325, comps are putting it at $325,
right? You
have to be willing to step up.
And we never want people to pay more than what something is worth, right? But housing it's emotion. It's not really just brick and mortar. I mean, Jeff, you know that. It's a whole lot more than just somebody, buying X dollars. A house is worth, a couple $1,000s more or less, depending on who it is. So if the market says that this house is going to sell for $320 and there's 3 bidders at $320, what do you have to do?
Go up.
You got to go up, and we're not going to let you do something stupid. I mean, we're not going to let you pay $350 for a $320 house. But at the end of the day, if you pay $325, that $5,000 on a mortgage is going to cost you what on a monthly basis? $5,000.
$5 a month, maybe.
Yeah, I mean $50 a month more.
50,
at about $5 per thousand. So it's just not. We're talking about one cocktail a month,
right?
Or one dinner a month, I should say, a dinner Brio. And if you called earlier, you are in line to get a free couple dinners at Brio. So, so what's the other thing as far as once you've located the house and you do go to see it on time and you are in there the day of or the day after it comes up on the market, you got to figure out what it's worth, right?
You have to run comps, and you really need to have a strategy in place as to what you're going to do to get that house.
Right. And so, and this is true for sellers as well. So, most of the time we're talking about buyers or we're talking about sellers, but, you're both in the market. I mean, if your house is on the market, hopefully with Gerard Realty Group, but if you pick somebody else, you still have to know that your house is worth basically what the market says it's worth. And if you think it's worth $320 and the market says it's worth $3, you're not going to sell it. It's not going to work. So when you actually do locate that property and you're ready to make an offer, your buyers are ready to make an offer, what's the process that you go to find out what the value is?
Right. I always run comps in the area, and I give them a range. So there's a low range, a high range, and it all depends on what the quality of the home is.
Quality, updates,
exactly.
Condition. And here's what's funny is because you're going to represent a buyer, and you're going to say, hey, the range for this house is, 200 to 220.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm the listing agent, I'm going to represent the seller, and I'm going to say the range for this house is 200 to 220, and I'm going to work like a devil to get them 220, and you aren't, right?
Exactly.
So you're going to work to get them at 200. And
get them the lowest price.
Exactly. And somewhere in the middle is where we need to meet, or not necessarily in the middle, but between those two numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So we are agnostic about price when we're pricing a house. We don't decide what a house is worth. We just report, we analyze the market. We come up with what we think is the right range. And then our job is to get our buyers at the low end of that range and to get our sellers at the high end of that range.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't move the market, and nobody can. It kind of goes back to, when you're hiring an agent, you really want to know whether your buyer's agent has experience negotiating in that range successfully. And then you also want to know, if you're listing your house or you're interviewing agents, if an agent tells you that they can get you more money than what the market says your house is right,
they're lying.
They're lying. I mean, it's just they
Flat
can't.
out.
No, if the agent wants to pay you more than what your house is worth, that's a pretty cool agent. So we actually are running out of time. Ryan, I appreciate you coming in. I want you to come back next time there's something going on.
Yeah,
that
definitely. Thank you.
I really like the concept of you coming in and talking about not just theory, but what you see in the market. This week I saw this, and I think it's really helpful for our listeners
mm-hmm.
to know that we're not just here because we think it's fun to be on the radio. We're trying to spread the word on how to buy and sell and own, and today build real estate in the St. Louis area.